Hey everyone, welcome to a Lovely Yarn podcast. My name is Amber. Today is Wednesday, March 29th, end of March. Sun is out, at least for now. We're gonna get some storms later today. Storms, and yeah, it seems weird to get storms because it's actually quite chilly out right now, but I don't know, that's what they're saying. So maybe it's gonna warm up as the day goes on. But anyway, I just want to welcome everyone to this episode of a Lovely Yarn podcast. And I'm going to do the giveaway winners to start off with, and then I actually have quite a bit of knitting and then one crochet project to share with everyone. So I waited longer in between episodes than I had planned on doing. So now I'm feeling a little bit scatterbrained, which is what happens, because what I always like to do is make sure I have enough content. So I don't know, to film every week. That would just, I feel like I wouldn't have enough progress in my projects I would bore you all. I would bore you all. And I haven't even been filming my vlogs. I've just not been in the right mental space to take the time to film vlogs. I've felt extremely creative, which happens to me every March. It's like I come alive when the trees come alive. And it's every March. I have identified that. I love it. I love the springtime. I get super creative, but right now, most of that creativity is coming out in my watercolor painting. So and this again happens every spring. I'm spending a lot of time doing that, and I'm not having that mental energy to film vlog segments. So it's been a while since I've been in front of the camera here. Needless to say, let's go ahead and get started. So what I did is I used a random YouTube comment picker, and I picked two winners, as I had previously talked about in the giveaway episode, which was my last episode, which interestingly enough, I tried not to use the word giveaway on that episode, and I used it multiple times apparently, as some of you pointed out, and including my mom. So she watches my episodes, even though she does not knit and really doesn't know anything about knitting. But she called me right after she got done watching it. She's like, you said that word a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, I've heard. So, and the funny thing is, when I edited that video, I actually caught myself one time and I was able to splice that one out. But apparently I said it at least 2 or 3 times, and you guys alerted me. Nothing happened with that last video, so hopefully YouTube has the whole spamming thing a bit under control now, because it was really annoying, and and it was happening to multiple people, not just to me. So I already did the random picking using that, just an app or a website, and so I'm gonna flash the comments up here that have won. And the first one is Cat's Eye Collective. So there we go. That's winner number 1. And then winner number 2, we're going to put up there, is Kathy P. So I am going to try to find your comments in the comment section, but I don't know that I'm going to get to that today. So if you watch this, Cat's Eye Collective and Kathy P, could you please just, even if you don't get a reply to your comment that you've won, and remember, I don't know, I'm hoping that, like, my last video didn't get any of the spamming stuff, but hopefully this one does not as well. But those are the 2 winners, Kathy P, Cat's Eye Collective. My email, alovelyarn@gmail.com, is in the description box. If you guys could just send me an email with your mailing addresses, I will get your packages sent out to you. And congratulations. Thank you to all my viewers, though, because it is, we celebrated because you guys subscribe, and I appreciate it. So let's move on to my knitting. And like I said, I have one crochet project, which is my first one in a really long time. I don't think so. Oh yes, I have one finished object, and it's actually a pair of socks that I've already gifted. So I'm going to put the picture right here. These were just the plain vanilla socks. I cast on 60 on size 0 needles, which is what I do often for like a woman's size socks. These were actually a gift for my son Ian's girlfriend. Her birthday was this past weekend, and so I have already given those to her. And this is in the Opal yarn, and someone knew. When I talked about this last time, I did not know, because the label was all in German and I didn't know what any of it meant. So she said that that was actually the Winter Meadow colorway. And yeah, I think I have probably, I'm looking over there because the yarn is over there still, but I have enough to do, I think, a pair of shorties or a pair of longer socks if I pick a contrasting color for the cuffs, heels, and toes. So I will make another pair. Actually, I'm really liking shorty socks, and I only have one pair that I've knitted. So I think I'll probably just knit a pair of shorty socks because I seem to wear those over and over again. Okay, so that's my only finished object. Everything else has been cast-ons, which is highly unlike me. I don't typically have so many projects going at one time. And I'm not even going to be showing you all of the projects because I have two blankets that are one crochet and one my knitting blanket. I think the crochet one is the Dahlia Scrap Gan, which I haven't shown you guys for a long time because I haven't worked on it. I have all the squares done. I just need to seam them all together. And then my other one is just my garter stitch knit blanket that I'm using the fingering weight bare colored yarn and holding double with my fingering weight scraps. And I've shown that one multiple times, including the last episode. So I'm not going to talk about that. I also have some other whips that are very long standing whips that actually probably just need frogged. So we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about my most active current whips. And I think we'll start with, oh wait, oh my gosh, I do have another finished object. I have another finished object. How could I forget? Friends, I am losing my mind. This is why I should not wait so long between episodes. Not only do I have another finished object, but I actually have two more finished objects, which I completely forgot about because I started and finished something on our road trip to South Carolina 2 weeks ago, and I forgot because when I got home I just stuck them back here underneath, which is where I often put stuff for my podcast episodes that I want to talk about in the next episode. I put it there underneath and completely forgot about it until I was looking for this, which is my first finished object, well, my second, I guess, that I want to show you. So this is the Night Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry. Isn't that so pretty? It turned out beautiful. Let me see here. I have my knitting journal, which I'm not doing very good with keeping updated, just because, although I do have it started. I need to go through and like kind of stitch it in, or color in the stitches. Okay, so I used Schoppel Edition 3. It's 100% merino, and it's 50 grams, has about 150 meters. So this pattern actually called, when I bought the yarn, I thought I would need 4 little balls. Okay, so I bought 3 to start with, and then I thought, no, that's not going to be enough. So I went back to Yarns by Design and bought this 4th ball. Well, I ended up not needing that at all. Like, I didn't touch it at all. So I used way less than the pattern said I would need. I actually used only 132 grams of the yarn, so I actually measured. See, keeping a knitting journal is making me keep track of things better. So the color number 1 was the color that had all the blues and purple. So I actually had 2 skeins of that same exact color, and it was 2301. And then my color 2 was color 2471. Now this pattern actually calls for 3 different colors of yarn, but I just went with the 2 because this yarn just shifted so much in color that I didn't need to have 3 different colors. So if you have 2, so I ended up using 2 of like the blue purplish skeins and then 1 of the more pink and yellow skeins. So you would only, if it works out like it did for me, you would only need 2 of the one and one of the other. Or you could do 3 different colors if you wanted to. That would be perfectly fine. But I thought if I can save this skein and do something else with it, then I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to use it. So let me look at my notes. Okay, so I used an entire skein of the second color, which was the pink and yellow. And I actually ran out. I had about this much left of the I-cord edging when I was finishing up, and I ran out of that color. So I ended up, what did I do? Oh, so I finished off the I-cord edging all in the first color. I feel like I'm using the word color a lot, so I'm probably confusing you guys, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. Basically, I used 1.5 skeins of the blue and purple skein, which I don't honestly know where the remainder of that is for me to even show you. Let me see if it's behind me here. All right, so I don't have it to show you. It's somewhere in my house. I just don't know where it is at the present time. Okay, so I used a whole skein and then 32 grams of the second skein of the blue and purple yarn, which was my color 1, and then I used an entire skein of my color 2, which was the pinks and more yellows. So yeah, so essentially you need to have 3 skeins, and if you're going to do it in this yarn, this Schoppel yarn, then you would need 3 skeins. But let me just do some close-ups here so you can see the pretty color transitions. And then it goes to a pink. Shall I try it on for you? Actually, it goes really nice with my sweater that I have on, which this sweater is it's a thrift store find. I've had multiple people ask me in the past if I made the sweater. I did not make this sweater. It's a thrift store find. Okay, so let me kind of get up here. So you get the point. Now, the one thing about this, I would have liked it. I like my cowls to be a bit tighter around my neck. So this is a bit loose. This is looser than what I normally like. Because when you have a cowl that's loose like that, then it's not doing what it was meant to do, right? It's not keeping my neck warm. My neck is exposed because it's so drapey. But you can use it for an accessory, a fashion accessory this way, and it will add warmth because it's adding a layer over your chest. But I do prefer my cowls to be tighter. So if it was like I really wanted it, it would lay more like this on me. But that's okay. That's okay. If I don't wear this, if I find that I'm not wearing it because it's not comfortable for me, then I'll just give it as a gift to someone. I don't think I have anything else to say about this. I have written down in my notes here that I used a size 5 needle, US. So basically you cast on the one side and you knit across, kind of across and down, and then you seam it together on the back. Yeah. Okay. So the shift cowl. That is my second shift cowl because, as I said in my last episode, I knitted one in my friend Jody's farm yarn. And this is completely different. That one that I knitted out of her farm yarn was more of a stiff, and it was definitely warmer. This is way more drapey and still warm because it is, 100% merino. All right, and then I have another finished object that I had forgotten that I had. That's not it. So when we went down to Charleston, South Carolina 2 weeks ago to visit our friends. We do that every year. It's a nice break from Pennsylvania winter. We go down there and just enjoy. We're typically only there for like 3 or 4 days, but it's still really nice just to get out of the gray and into the sunlight, and it's just a really enjoyable thing for us to do in the winter time. So I wanted a pair of fingerless mitts. I have talked in the past about this. I have, I think, 3 pairs of knitted fingerless mitts that I've made over the years. My daughter has basically stolen one of those pairs, which is fine. And it's the pair that she wears all the time is a colorwork pattern. I think it was by Fox. Oh shoot, I can't remember who that designer, something with Fox, I don't know. But I also, another thing that I have found is when my daughter's friends come over in the past, they have borrowed the fingerless mitts while they've been here. And so I thought it would be nice to have a couple extra pairs. And I had some yarn that would work for fingerless mitts. So I found this pattern on Ravelry. It was a free pattern. It's called the Paca fingerless mitts. And this pattern is knitted using 4 different colors. But, oh, this is where the rest of the blue skein went. This makes perfect sense. See how I don't remember things unless I have it written down. Okay, so I had this yarn, which was just in my scrap bin. I keep a bin of, well, I have multiple scraps, but this is like a sports weight yarn. It's rather thin. It's a 2-ply. And it is 100% non-superwash wool. I think it's a Cascade brand. I've had it for probably 10 years. So I had this, and then I had just finished up the night shift cowl. This is what's left. And I thought, ooh, wouldn't this and this make nice gloves? And I wouldn't have to worry about switching out yarn colors. I wouldn't have to worry about weaving in a bunch of ends when I was all done. So I made these. They're so cute. And another thing I love about these, fingerless mitts that have color work, that are made with color work, give that nice extra warm layer. So that is a benefit of this. Now, I have long, thin hands. And so a lot of times gloves are too big on me. So I made sure my gauge was tight, and I don't even, let me see if I wrote down. I don't think I journaled anything about this yet. No, I didn't. It calls for a US 2 needled. Is that what I used? Let me see, because I still have my, yes, I did. So I did use a size 2 needle, but it also calls for a 4 for when you're doing, that's right. Okay, so the size 2 for the ribbing and then the 4 for the color work. But I actually stayed on size 2 needles for the whole thing. And then as I was knitting the color work, like I always do when I knit color work, I just made sure I wasn't pulling the yarn too tight. But that ended up being perfect for me because they are so nice and snug. They fit me perfectly. They are absolutely perfect. Now, if somebody had a bigger hand than me, they wouldn't fit them because they are perfectly snug on my hands. And I really like them. I like how they fit. I like tighter fitting things on my hands. I don't like when it's sloppy and extra large, and then it feels annoying, especially because of how it lays. So that was another thing. Oh yes, okay, see, it's coming back to me now. So in the ribbing on the top, so you start down here, you knit the bottom, then you knit the color work, you split for the thumb, put those on hold. I did the thumb a little bit different. I did probably 5 rows. Let's see if I even wrote it down. Yeah, I did 5 rows of ribbing on the thumb. That's not what it called for. I think it called to pretty much bind off right after picking up the stitches. But I wanted the thumb to be a little bit longer. And then up here, I'm pretty sure I did a few more rounds here. Oh, and I did a whole extra something in here. I wrote all this down. I did write it down. I'm looking at my pattern, but for me to tell you, I don't know that it matters. I'm going to write it in my knitting journal so I know for in the future. But I did extra color work here, and then I did extra ribbing here to make them longer. I have long hands, so it wasn't going to reach up where I wanted, following the pattern just as it was written. And then I also decreased by 2 stitches in the ribbing when I first started it, just so, or no, up here, up at the top, so it would kind of contour with my hand because I don't like when it's real loose around my fingers. It feels sloppy. I don't like that. So anyway, these are the Paca fingerless mitts. I really enjoy knitting them. I could definitely knit them again. And now I can wear them because I've shown them. And these were great for using up scraps of yarn. I had 2 balls. One was a little bit bigger than this, and I didn't have to use any of this ball. I used all of the other ball up, which was perfect. I love when I can use my scraps up, almost like use them almost up completely. That's such a wonderful thing. Okay, so now let's talk about my works in progress. It's so hilarious that I didn't realize I had 2 things completed. All right, my Ingrid sweater. This is by Petite Knits. And I don't think I have too much more done than when I when I showed you last. But I think I have the whole body done. But as I said in my last episode, before I was going to bind off the bottom, I was actually going to go back and put the neck on so that I could try it on and get a more accurate representation of how long the sweater was. So I'm almost done with the neck and doing that. This is an interesting neckline. See how the pattern changes? So once I get the neck done, I'm going to bind off on the neck, and then I'm going to try this on, and I'm going to see if it's long enough. And I'm also going to take into consideration that this is superwash yarn, which I prefer not to knit sweaters with superwash just because I get a little bit nervous about how much stretch it's going to happen in blocking. So I get nervous about that, but I do try to take those things into consideration when I'm trying to decide what size to cast on as well. So usually it works out fine in the end. There have been a couple of times it hasn't, but I mean, that just happens in knitting, right? So yeah, this is all. This is a Cascade 220 Superwash, and color will be down below. It's a really pretty, it's kind of heathered, if you can see there. I like the color a lot. This color actually brings out the color of my blue eyes. So my husband likes this color on me. So he'll probably like this sweater. Okay, that's all I have to tell you about that. If you want to hear more about it, you can go back and watch the last episode because I do talk about it more in depth. I knitted the Sophie scarf, and I talked about that last episode, and I really, really enjoyed that, and I like that scarf. It's just enough to keep my neck warm. But I also am now knitting a I am now knitting a Sophie Shawl. Okay, so I'm knitting it from stash. I'm really trying to work through my stash. I've been really good with not buying new yarn, except I did buy a skein, which I'm going to show you here at the end. But this is what I'm using. Highland worsted by Cloudborn, and it's in the Espresso colorway, Espresso Heather. It's a very pretty brown color, and I actually knit a farmhouse shawl in this same color several years back. So this was, I had 2 skeins. No, I had 2.5 skeins left from when I had originally purchased it. So what I did is I caked up the 2 skeins that were still in hanks, and then I took the half skein that was left and I weighed it out so that I got 2 balls that weighed the same. And when I started the shawl, I knit from the full skein and then the half skein, and then when I finished up all of that yarn, I started my decreasing, and that's how I'm doing it. So I'm not really, I think the pattern has 3 different sizes. Of course I don't have the pattern in the project bag, but it's really easy to memorize, so I don't have to look. Actually, I don't even know that I printed it. It might be on my phone. But it's just like the scarf. So you increase, and then the pattern's written to increase and then to start decreasing right away. But instead of doing that, and I also did this on the Sophie scarf, I actually did about that much of just no increasing at all. So it just goes straight across. So there's no growing for that middle section, no widening of it. And then I started my decreases, and now I'm working my decreases. And I'm excited about this color brown because it's so neutral and basic. I don't wear a lot of brown, but I like brown. I like brown on other people, but I'm not. The browns are funny for me. This brown is okay, but some browns make me look really just very sick. So, and I don't like to wear stuff that makes me look sick, because then I don't feel good about how I look. And so, but this color brown, this like chocolatey color brown, I do like, and I'm excited to have this done. And I don't really think there's anything else to say about this, but that I do really like this pattern. I like the crescent. It's not even really crescent shaped. I would say this is definitely more of a scarf. I wouldn't even call this a shawl, because I'm definitely going to be wearing this as a scarf. The biggest size of this is a bit wider as far as width right here, but you can see, I mean, this isn't incredibly wide. So the way I want to wear this is like this, and then tie it right in front, which is how I like to wear my shawls, my crescent shaped shawls. Okay, so that is the Sophie Shawl by Petite Knit. All right, my husband's birthday is coming up next month. I really hope he doesn't watch this episode, because sometimes he'll just randomly watch episodes. I don't know if he watches the whole thing. And I've been filming for a while. I'm almost 30 minutes in, so I think I'm going to be safe, because I don't know that he actually sits there and listens to me talking about knitting. I don't know. I've heard him listening, though. I've heard my voice playing from other rooms, and I'm like, oh, that's so weird. Anyway, I'm knitting him a pair of birthday socks, because he loves my socks. So I'm using this Supergarne Activ. Colorway will be listed down below. I got this through the Etsy shop that I buy almost all of my commercially dyed yarn. And I haven't gotten very far, because I just casted it on the other day. I think I cast it on route. Brad was driving to church Friday night, and I think I did this. I think I got the whole ribbing done in church. Maybe part of this. I don't even remember. So yeah, and then you can see what this looks like. But for Brad, this is a size 1. No, it's a size 0. See, I like using the size 0 for socks, because it makes a really dense, tight gauge, which is good for feet, because, you know, the friction of walking on your socks. I just think that the socks hold up better when I use a needle that gives me a tighter gauge. But I believe I cast on, I think I did 68 stitches, and I'm going to go back and count, but I haven't done that yet. Yeah, and Brad doesn't have big feet, so I think he wears a 9.5, so making him socks is not really that much more of a deal than making myself socks. I'm a size 8 women's US, and he's a size men's 9.5, so I mean, they're definitely bigger, but it's not like I'm knitting for my son Sergey has. I think he wears like a size 12. That would be a much more knitting. But Brad and Ian both have size 9.5 feet, so it doesn't take very long to make them socks. So yeah, that's for my husband's birthday. Hope he doesn't hear this. Hope he doesn't decide to watch this part. Okay, one last knitted whip, and then I'm going to show you my crochet project. So it's getting to be the time of year where, because it's warming up a bit, my daffodils are out, I've started my seeds, I'm very forward thinking right now, as far as I'm not going to really be wearing big heavy sweater. Well, okay, in reality I probably will be wearing big heavy sweaters for probably at least another month and a half, maybe 2 months, you know. But my brain is telling me that I need to knit some like warmer weather garments. So last year I knitted a short sleeve ranunculus. I I forget what all the patterns. I should maybe I should do an episode on summer knitted tees or something like that. Maybe that would be a good thing to do. But I didn't really want to do another short sleeve ranunculus. I think I like that sweater better as a long sleeved sweater. So I decided on another petite knit pattern. I really like her patterns. As I said before, I don't know about them being completely beginner friendly because she does make some assumptions that you know certain things, especially when it comes to the short row shaping. But because I've done her patterns enough now, I'm feeling more comfortable with them. Like this is the 5th pattern of hers that I've used, and the 3rd garment pattern. So I decided to make the, hold on, I need to make sure I get the right name. Ankers summer shirt. So there you go. The ink, and my printing is horrible because I just buy cheap ink. And I'm using the yarn that I've used in the past to knit myself a tank, and it's Drops Belle. And this is, I think this color is called Rose Almond or Almond Rose. And I'm knitting the medium because this is not designed to have a lot of positive ease in it. I think it's only 0 to 2 inches of positive ease. And I often will knit size small in garments, but I don't want it to be too tight. So I thought I'm going to start the yoke as a medium yoke, and then I can always adjust the body if I need to. But this is what I have so far. This is such a beautiful color. I love this color. And okay, so this is the right side out, but actually I think I might like the inside out. So I might actually end up flipping it. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I don't know if I like that better or not. Maybe not. It doesn't look as clean. I don't have to decide on that now. I'm on my last section of the ribbing on the yoke, and I'm about to lose some stitches. So yeah, there we go. I'm enjoying working on this. I'm going to be honest. I definitely am a wool preferring knitter. But just because it has so much spring, it just feels more comfortable in my hands. And this Drops Belle, I've used it before, like I said. It's cotton, viscose, and linen. It's like over half cotton, and then viscose is 33% and 14% linen. So it's not stretchy. Like there's not give to this at all. And I don't prefer knitting with that, but I know that it makes a nice fabric and a nice material for warmer days. So this will probably be my, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say this will probably be my only warm weather knitted garment that I make this year. But I might make another one Lily wants another ripple bralette, which I think I made that for her last year. So I may end up doing one of those for her. But yeah, this is it. I hope I like it. And I bought 7 skeins of this yarn because they're 50 gram balls. So they have 131 yards in each ball. So I bought 7. Actually, I had already had this yarn. I bought it last year and never did what I was going to do with it. So when I was thinking last week, oh, I want to knit a summer tee, and then I found that pattern and I thought, oh, great, that would be the perfect yarn for it. So I already had it. So it should be enough. I would assume it's a t-shirt, so it should be enough. Okay, last project that I want to talk about is just, it's a crocheted project, which I don't know if I think I probably shared in Vlogmas maybe last November and December. So I am part of a prayer shawl ministry at the church I go to, and we had a local nursing home that had requested lap blankets for the residents, and I'm thinking we had, how many did we need? It was 50, maybe 50 some, 40 some, 50 some, somewhere in there. There's not a lot of women typically at our meetings when we get together, we get together once a month just to basically talk and work on our projects. And then we work on them mostly at home. But we usually have 4 women, sometimes 5 or 6. So there's not a lot of us. And then there are some that aren't able to make it to the meetings. They just drop off shawls or whatever at the church when they're there. But I don't even remember how many lap blankets I crocheted. And so when I make stuff for the prayer shawl ministry, I usually crochet. I have knitted, but crocheting is so much faster. And yeah, I just find that crocheting for the prayer shawl ministry is better for me to do than knitting. Knitting just takes too much time. So, but anyway, I crocheted a bunch of lap blankets. I think 12, 13. I don't remember. I was so over it. Mostly I was over using acrylic yarn, which sounds extremely snobby of me, but I'm not a big fan of acrylic yarn. I use it, and I almost always will use at least an acrylic blend. Sometimes I'll get, so for the prayer shawl ministry, we want to make sure that everything is washable and dryable in a machine, because you can't be giving stuff to people that they're going to have to worry about hand washing. That's just not, not everybody's willing to hand wash their stuff. So that makes perfect sense. So we use a lot of acrylic yarn or wool and acrylic blends that can be machine washed. And I just got tired of, I got tired of knitting with like acrylic yarns. So this is my first thing I've made for the ministry since then, which sounds kind of awful, but I'm just being honest. So I am making a crocheted granny stripe shawl. I started this yesterday and I worked on it for a couple of hours. And let me tell you something. Okay, I don't know that you can see this through the camera, but can you see that this is 2 layers thick here? So my friend, who's also in the ministry, she said, she showed me how to do it this way. So basically what you do is this whole middle section here, this is actually a granny square. So I made a square first, and then I folded it down corner to corner, and then I just started crocheting back and forth and increasing on each end. And what that does, and this is a really good idea that Kathy had, I don't know if she made this up or if she maybe found this somewhere, but it makes a double layer of fabric here. So when it's around the person's neck in the back, it's extra warm. It's really thick, squishy, and warm, because that is the problem with granny stripes, granny squares. They have these large holes, but doing it this way and just folding it in half gives that extra warmth right around the back of the neck. So I am using this is Yarn Bee. So this is from Hobby Lobby. It's glowing, and the colorway is Sage and Song. I have had this yarn for a while because I bought it last year. I bought it last year whenever I was making all the lap blankets, and because I really went through my acrylic stash when I was doing that, and then I never got around to using this for that, so it's perfect. It's so pretty too. I don't know if you can, I just love these colors. These are some of my favorite colors though. I think this is going to make a really pretty shawl for someone, and I'm just going to keep going until I run out of yarn. I think I have 5 skeins, and where's the yardage? It's approximately 200 yards on each skein, so 1,000 yards of yarn. It should make a nice sized shawl. Okay, so those are all of my projects that are finished or in progress. Now I want to show you something I bought. I did buy something. I haven't bought yarn for a long time, other than this skein that I thought I was going to need to finish my shift cowl. But I want to show you. I'm going to pause this so I can pull everything out of its packaging, and then I'm going to show you what I got. Okay, so I have been following Hauling Hoof Farm. They're out of New Marshfield, Ohio, so they're my neighbor as far as states go, because I'm in Pennsylvania, on the western side of Pennsylvania. I've been following them on Instagram for a little while. I think maybe last fall I found them on there. And they are such a cool shop, such a cool small business. And they do homegrown natural yarns that they dye. Let's see. So it's small batch dyeing, and they use nature to inspire their colors. So I bought a skein of yarn, and and then they also do pottery. So they have pottery, and then they have like some woodworking. They make buttons, they make stitch markers, they make yarn, they make cups, they make these really awesome plant, like ceramic plant hangers that I almost bought one, but I'm like, Amber, you need to just stop. So I got this skein of yarn. I love this. I do not wear a lot of yellow. I actually don't even know that I have anything yellow in my closet. But when I saw this online, it was so bright and cheery and reminded me of dandelions, which I know most people hate dandelions, but I actually really like dandelions. They're pretty. They make me happy, and you can eat them and use them for other really good medicinal things. But here's their little tag. So this is actually a huge skein. It's 600 yards, and it is, I think it was 80% merino and 20% Romney. It doesn't say on this. I'm gonna have to mark that on this because I want to remember what this is. But I'm actually, I knew what I was gonna make with this when I bought it. I'm going to make a Christopher hat, which is the hat that's kind of like the muscle burrow hat that a lot of people are making right now. But the Christopher hat is a Jane Richmond pattern that's been around for years. And I just adjust the cast on numbers. I think it's written for worsted weight yarn, and I've always just adjusted the cast on numbers to fit, to fit my head for whatever weight yarn I'm using. And this just would make a really fun, bright hat. I would wear, I like bright colors on my head or my feet, or I'll wear like gloves. I would wear gloves that are bright. Even my shawls. My clothing is not typically bright. So, but little accessories, I love it. So look how pretty that is. It does feel rustic, but it doesn't feel itchy, which is interesting. So I'm excited to cast that on. I actually might do that soon. All right, so then I could not resist these buttons. They get on and look at their clay buttons. They also have wooden buttons, but these are all handmade, and they are so darling. So a little mushroom and then a little bird, and I forget what bird. So if you go to the listing for the bird buttons, they have different breeds of birds, and I can't remember what breed that was. Aren't those adorable? I don't even know what I'm gonna do, except wouldn't it be kind of cute to put the mushroom button on the brim of my hat? I don't know, I might do that. And then they also, whoever does the pottery also makes these really pretty progress keepers and also stitch markers, but I find that I just like the normal round stitch markers, or maybe one with a tiny little bead. But when I have something dangling, I feel like it gets, to use it as a stitch marker, I feel like it gets like caught on my needle, so I don't prefer that to mark the beginning of a round or a section. But I do like progress keepers, so she gives the option to get it with the lobster clasp, which is what this is, or you just do the jump ring if you just want it as a stitch marker. But these are clay. Is that? Yeah, I think that's focused. And I just chose these two. There's many different options to choose from. So I'll link their shop down below. You can check that out. But those are my goodies. So I did treat myself. I felt a little bit guilty about it, but then I was like, I am supporting a business that is a small business. And so that's how I justified it, which it's not like I had the money, so it wasn't like I'm spending money I don't have. But sometimes, you're like, I have so much stuff already. I have so much yarn. I already have progress keepers. Like, I don't need to buy any more. But then you see things, and honestly, these are just so stinking adorable. And I have been wanting a nice bright yellow yarn. So it worked out. All right, so that's everything I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. And again, the two of you who won the giveaway, if you could just contact me with your mailing address, I'll get that sent out to you. And hopefully next time I won't wait so long between episodes. But I feel like I did pretty good because I'm looking at my timer and I'm about 45 minutes. So I probably talked really fast. I'm sorry if I talked fast. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you soon.